our game started with GT3 cars, so if we need to add GT4 car, it's not that big a problem because those cars are pretty similar.
Welcome once again, everybody. I am joined here by Krzysztof, the tech lead for the development of RENNSPORT. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I know things have been a little bit hectic, a little bit busy on the RENNSPORT side of things, but I need to ask you, Krzysztof, how has it been developing a game whilst having competition going on simultaneously? How has that experience been?
Yeah, hello everyone. It's great to be here again, second year. And answering your question, it's a very hard process. Anyone who worked in the software development can probably agree with me that releasing something is a very complex process. And while you are still actively working on new features in a game and you try to run a competition when everything needs to work perfectly or almost perfectly, it's really hard because there are two things that you need to do in parallel. You want to add new things, which can break stuff, but still you want to have things as good as possible so all the players are happy and you can have a good competition because you want everyone to have the equal chances. So this is a very hard to do, but to be honest, being here, seeing what's happening here, I'm pretty happy.
As you should be as well. It all looks fantastic. The drivers are incredibly happy as well. And we officially announced the date for the closed beta in itself too. Now focusing more on the beta, obviously that's now finally been released, but we had a little bit of a delay at some points as well. In regards to the drivers, how much of their input was kind of contributing to, pushing this back? Because at the end of the day, the drivers' feedback is incredibly important.
Yeah, especially the pro drivers which are here, they are very sensitive on what they are feeling with the game, what they are seeing in the game, and what they are hearing in the game. So many things that like casual player or even us developers, we just don't see them or we don't think they are so important as they are. They immediately just reach us and say, hey, this thing that shouldn't work like this, or this thing is misleading because I thought if I do this, this should happen, and this did not happen. So for us, having feedback from them is one of the most valuable things we can have because they are pushing the game to its limits, and not many people in the world can do it, so including us. So, yeah.
So could you give me some examples maybe of the kind of feedback that the drivers have been giving you throughout?
Yes, I think one of the most common one is the audio features feedback because when you are just driving as a casual driver, you just hear sound of the engine or of the gearbox, and for you it's just a sound that it's nice to hear it. For them, it's a source of feedback of what's happening with the car, and they gain a lot of information from that sound. So when they are running over the curb, they hear that they are running over the curb. When they are running off the track to the grass, for example, they can hear it. So many things that are not important for casual player, for them, it's crucial to have a good lap time. Also, the same thing is with the force feedback. For them, it's the biggest source of truth of what's happening to the car. And in normal racing, you also have those forces that apply to your body. You don't have it here, so you have to rely on what you see, what you feel with your hands, and what you hear. So, and small details matter here.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So how do you feel the optimization of the game as a whole has gone over the past 6 months, let's say?
When we started in Katowice, since the game was heavy under development and still is, it was not that great. We had some issues, especially with CPU time, but after that we spent much time in the special software profiler, searching for the problematic places in the code, and the team did a great job improving that. So now, even without a very powerful PC, you can play the game and have a very good experience. And even R1 players are seeing the difference, even though they have very powerful PCs. So even for them, that's a big difference.
Well, I know a very big talking point as well has not only been the optimization of RENNSPORT, but also the different car classifications. Obviously, we've got the GT3, and now with the new edition of the Praga as well. I need to know, to what extent is it a bit of a headache to make that new edition into a game?
It depends, to be honest, and maybe I'll give you a sample here, because our game started with GT3 cars, so we created our physics engine around that. So at first we have all the features that GT3 cars need, and for example, if we need to add GT4 car, it's not that big a problem because those cars are pretty similar to each other. So if we get all the data from the factory, if we can just put it into our special tools that we use to convert it to the game readable data, it is not a problem. But problem is if you need to add cars where you need to add some features that are not existing in the physics engine. For example, also that Morris mentioned, LMDH cars. They have electric engines, they have batteries, they have a recuperation system, and if you need to put that into your physics engine, it requires some amount of work that needs to be done. But once it's there, it's pretty similar to the GT3 cars. You just have the tool, you just input the data, and in a few days you can have a pretty reasonable result.
So in terms of the realism of all of that, you're talking about inputting all of the data and things like that. On a level of realism, is it difficult to try and make it as realistic as possible when making those new additions?
This is very complex task, I would say. This is we have a very, very complex tool where you put almost all the values that matter in terms of simulation. You have to know what the gears are, how the drive shaft is built, how the wheels are built. All the parameters that matter in normal racing also matter for us.
Amazing. I know it's been a long process for yourself and the team, Krzysztof, but congratulations are in order. You've pulled off an incredible game so far, and I know the audience at home are going to absolutely love playing it as well. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.